Hi. So the last time we left off was we talked about buying a used Honda CRV or a used Toyota RAV4 on Facebook Marketplace. So when we saw those listings on Facebook Marketplace, we saw that they were in the 200 to 300,000, sometimes half million peso range. So those are still pretty expensive for many used car buyers. So what if your budget was only around the 100 to 150,000 price range? Could you still buy a car, and why would you even buy a car at that price range even? Well, for some people, if they've been used to a car payment for like 2 years, they've been paying off a car for like 20,000 pesos a month, and at some point they couldn't pay that off anymore. Maybe they could lose a job, or maybe they just needed a break of in their finances in terms of paying for that brand new car, but they still need a car to go to work in because they've been used to driving a car for 2 or 3 years, but their place of work is not near, nor are there any good options in public transportation, so they need a car right away, and the only way they could afford one was to pay for a used one in that 100 to 150,000 price range. And then another reason to buy in that price range would be that you own a big diesel truck or SUV or pickup truck, and we know that the prices of diesel recently have been very, very high, especially in the Philippines, where it's just not practical anymore to keep fueling up a diesel truck that doesn't get that very good mileage, to be honest. And on top of being so expensive, so it makes you want to downsize your car. So, and if you can't afford an electric vehicle, so I guess what you could do is find a used smaller car in Facebook Marketplace. So could you still buy a used car for 100,000 pesos to 150,000? So that's around $2,500 below. The good news is that you still can. And right off here, checking on Facebook Marketplace, what you see are a lot of sedans, and one sedan that stood out, especially in the Cebu City area, is this Mitsubishi Lancer. So this is not the Mitsubishi Mirage G4 that we see here flying around, that is still in production, but the Mitsubishi Lancer ended production in 2017. And when you think Mitsubishi Lancer, this was one of the most popular cars that Mitsubishi ever built, and essentially made their name here in the Philippines and in Asia, aside from the Mitsubishi Triton pickup. So the Lancer back in the day, if you were driving a Lancer in the 90s and early 2000s, it meant that you were at least middle class and you had a pretty good paying job, probably an executive somewhere. Not really Mitsubishi Galant level where you're a high ranking official, or you had more pretty higher up in the corporate ladder. But if you had a Lancer, you had a pretty stable job back in the 90s and early 2000s. And what's great about the Mitsubishi Lancer is that it's not a subcompact car, which the Toyota Vios, the Honda City, the Hyundai Rena are, the Hyundai Accent. All of those are subcompact sedans, so those are smaller. And if you look at a sedan like the Suzuki Celerio, it's a very small, if you look at the trunk of that car, it's very small. But if you compare it with the sedans of the 90s, those offer more space and utility compared to the smaller sedans we see today. And other finds we can see here is this Mazda. Not sure if this is the final price for this one. So looking at this Mazda 2 2017, I'm not so sure if this 120k is the actual cash price, because for 2017 you don't really find those that cost 120,000 pesos. This is probably just the initial price, so you have to ask the actual owner, because this doesn't depreciate to this number yet. For 2017, it's too low. But for this 2004 Corolla Altis, it looks like it's the cash price for this one. A 2004 model for 150k. This is actually a pretty good deal because Toyota Corollas are one of the most reliable cars, and they're also very easy to maintain and find parts for, thanks to Toyota's service network in Asia and even in the Philippines. So right here, you can see that the tires might need some work. You probably need to replace the tires. If you're a member in SNR, you could easily get a buy one take one deal for, I'd say, 6,000 pesos for a pair of wheels. So you could easily replace these wheels for brand new tires, and then probably clean up the interior, replace some spark plugs. That will probably all cost you, all in all, like 50K, or probably less than 50,000, to make this car drive like brand new. You can see automatic transmission for this Toyota Corolla. Looking at the shifter here, it's a very well built center console, and if you look at the plastics here, it looks way better than many of even the brand new base models that we see in the Philippines. So, engine bay, variable valve timing. The engine bay back then, it's a very straightforward engine bay. You can't really see visually, so you would have to make it run. Check in. What I know about some older Corollas is the radiator can have some leaks, so you better have the coolant levels checked. Go for a test drive, maybe like a 1 hour test drive if that's allowed, 1 to 2 hours maybe, and see how the cooling system does after that testing. So let's look at a couple more samples here. Oh yeah, the Honda Civic. So Honda Civic is one of the best cars that you could ever buy. Brand new, used, one of the best cars, period. The only issue with Honda Civics overseas, if you're buying it overseas, is that these tend to get modified a lot, because this is one of the more favorite hobby cars for enthusiasts, because what's great about Honda is they are fun to customize. Aside from adding body kits, as it seems like this one has had some body work done to make it stand out, make it like look like a fun car, a fun car for car meets. But it looks like the wheels don't look like they're stock. But as you can see, it looks really good for a 1990s car. Gives you a lot of JDM vibes. And for the Honda Civic, if this is a manual, this is a pretty good deal. If it's it's actually a manual, 150,000. Similar to what I said about the Corolla, just make sure that the cooling system is well maintained, and you probably will replace some spark plugs here. Check the tires if they're worn out. We don't really have a picture of the interior that much. So, according to owners of 90s, early 2000s Hondas, they did have issue with water leaks. So I think that's one of the things that you should look out for with these 90s, early 2000s Honda. Is this the ceiling? So I'm not against Kia or Hyundai, but there's a reason it's 120K and it's only 2009. I believe this is the actual price of this, and it's 129,000 kilometers. Not that much, but for a car of this size and this quality of the Kia Picanto, I wouldn't be surprised that this is the actual cash price. Probably you could even negotiate less. The reason is that these were built to be economy, city dwelling cars, not exactly those that you take on road trips. So when the manufacturer, Kia or Hyundai, essentially the same, for the Kia Picanto, is that they're not intended to be very, very high mileage cars. So 129,000 kilometers, although that's not super high in terms of mileage, that's high mileage for a Kia Picanto. I hope this isn't a junkyard. So I would rather go for the 150K Civic than a 2009 Picanto, if I'm honest. We could look at one more here. It's another interesting. Yeah. Let's try a Camry if we can find one. That's our last sample. Maximum 150,000. Not really find this. Even this Camry is quite expensive. It's hard to find a Camry at this price range because not a lot of Camrys in the Philippines compared to finding it overseas. So this is a 2004 Camry and it looks like it's 170,000. The black paint is not my favorite. It's matte. It's not my favorite paint style for this car, but 2004 Camry automatic transmission. This is pretty low mileage for this Camry, 100,000 kilometers, and I think this is a pretty good deal because although they're not the best in gas, they're not the most fuel efficient, especially if you compare it to the modern sedans. But the interior tends to hold up very well for the Camrys, and you're gonna enjoy or have a comfortable ride with the Toyota Camry because these models are built for the Western audience, and they're more premium here in the Philippines, especially when compared to entry-level cars. So I think that's a good deal. If there are no major engine or transmission issues, that's a good deal for the Camry. Okay, so I think for the next video, we're just going to look at non-sedans, maybe MPVs and SUVs, perhaps in a 200 to 300,000 price range. But I hope this was helpful in trying to just go around Facebook Marketplace and look for cars in the 100 to 150,000 peso price range.